Hello, my name is Joe Hotz, and this is my photo essay journal for BUAD 3030. In it, I'm going to focus on managers as leaders. I've assembled 10 different people who I believe are very strong leaders, and I'm going to focus on what aspects they have as leaders that allows them to excel in their field. First off, I have Jeff Bezos. He's a visionary from Amazon. He's also the CEO. He 20 years ago turned an idea into the second most admired company in the world. That's a pretty big accomplishment, and he was able to do this through his leadership abilities, more specifically his visionary abilities. He took something that was nothing and made it into one of the biggest e-commerce chains in the world. And I think this is very important quality for a leader to have, because if you're not looking forward for the next thing, if you're not looking into the future, then you might get caught up in what's going on now, and you might never advance your company farther. Next up, I have a bunch of different emojis, and these represent all the different attitudes that people can have in a day-to-day life. I believe managers specifically need to look out for what their attitude is, because that obviously will have an effect on themselves and it will have an effect on their team. So attitude plays a big role on a leader's ability to lead a group of people. You don't want to have an attitude that's going to bring down the rest of the group. Next, I have Alan Mulally. He's from Ford. He's seen as a miracle worker who saved the company from resorting to bankruptcy. Instead, he found other ways to get the company, and they didn't have to claim for bankruptcy like the other top automakers did at that time. And he really embodies perseverance in a way that allows him to excel as a leader. Now Ford is on the up and up, and they're looking forward to good profit margins. And I think this is a good example of a leader who perseveres, and it's important for a leader to have perseverance because they need to be able to get through the tough times. And all great leaders in a managing set should be able to persevere through tough times. Next, I have Angela Merkel, and she's a leader in the sense that she's a Supreme Chancellor for Germany, and she has been for 9 years. Most chancellors aren't there for that long. I have her as her leadership characteristic as decency. It's a behavior that conforms to standards of morality and respectability. This is very important for a person in her position and also for leaders in general, because it makes the people see them in a better light. You don't want to have a leader that's someone who has poor morals or isn't respectable. Next, I have Buzz Lightyear and Woody from the Toy Story movies. They're best pals throughout the movies, and they save each other quite a bit during the movies. And they're very loyal to each other. They're great friends. And this is important not only for them, but it's also important for a leader to be loyal, because you don't want to have people in your company feel that they can't trust you. Next, I have Stephen Curry. He's the current MVP in the NBA, and he just recently led his team to an NBA championship. His characteristic that I pointed out that makes him a great leader is how passionate he is. On the court, you can really tell that he's all about the game and that he wants his team to do the best that they can do. And this translates very easily to how a manager in a leadership role should act. He should be passionate about his work. Next, I have Adolf Hitler. You might not recognize him as a great leader, but he did take a country that was in rubbles and incredible amount of inflation in the early 1900s and turned him into, in 1930, a world power. And he was able to do that through his charisma, and he convinced, you could say convinced, but he brought together a large group of people and made them believe that they were dealing with some unjust punishment. And a leader should be charismatic because they need to be able to convey their messages to a group of people and get them all on the same page. Next, I have Mario from Nintendo video games. He always goes crushing through Bowser and through different castles to try to find Peach. Basically, the main thing to take away from Mario here is how brave he is to always keep going. And I think a leader needs to be brave in a sense that if you kind of just cower into a challenge, you're never going to make it that far. So a leader has to be brave, and people will see that they're being brave, and that'll hopefully wear off on them and they'll become brave as well, tackling different problems. Next I have Julius Caesar. He was a Roman Empire, a Roman emperor, and he led with really good military strategy, expanded the empire, and conquered nearly all of Western Europe. I think one of the best leadership qualities that he possessed was how decisive he was. He wasn't really wishy-washy, and he showed that what he wanted to get done is going to get done. And I think as a leader, you can't really sway one way or the other. You have to be very direct of what you want to do. And if you are wishy-washy, then your company or your followers are going to see that, and that's not a good thing because they'll lose confidence in you. Finally, I have the Dream Team from 1992, USA basketball team. They won the Olympic gold. They came together as a group of 11 All-Stars, and they formed one really great team. And a leader isn't really seen as a team member, but I think they need to be, in the sense that if they're always putting themselves on a higher pedestal, then the rest of the team might not, they won't gel as well as they could. If a leader puts themselves on the same position that the rest of his team is in, it allows for teamwork to work a lot better. These are the 10 characteristics of a leader who's in a manager roles I believe should have all the time.